Welcome to Blowing Solutions Wide Open, where we're talking about all things spiritual, as well as creating new systems in the area of healthcare, finance, government, education, new environmental practices, and anything that helps the planet or helps humanity. My name's Addie, and I want to welcome back a great guy. He's here to kind of wrap up what he's doing in the world, what he's doing with his work. His name is Ray Crist, and he is the founder of the Jaguar Path School of Shamanism. He's also an apprentice to 3 shamans. I think it's 3, you said. And he has created a unique online training in energy healing and Peruvian shamanism. Welcome back. I appreciate your time. And I'm just really curious if you want to kind of wrap up with us what your ideal client is, who you've seen really get benefited by what you're doing. Because I know that, let me just say, if you haven't watched the other 2 videos, go and watch those. Ray was diagnosed with terminal cancer from a Western medicine doctor. He was given 3 months to live, and his story is quite impressive because he actually, chose not to believe that. He turned in a different direction, and he is thriving. He's been thriving for years now as a result. And so he's a living example to anyone that you can do anything. And so if you want to just kind of talk about the clients that you've had that have, you've seen really turn around based off your program, and who you think, would benefit from what you're doing.
Absolutely. Addie, it's such a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for inviting me again.
Thank you. I feel
Uh, yeah. My ideal client or the ideal student is everybody. Is literally everybody. And I love we're aligned. Our missions are aligned. My mission is to bring to the modern world solutions and a new understanding or new ways of being. So the big part, of course, like you mentioned, for me to be motivated and inspired and motivated to create this school was that I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I was given 3 months to live, both from Johns Hopkins and NIH. And I did do one surgery at the National Institute of Health in Maryland in 2005. And I gave up my right kidney, which seemed to be the first place where cancer had started and then had spread throughout my body in other organs. The truth is, it's not only that I didn't believe it, I did believe it. I was hearing what the doctors were saying, and I was trusting that Johns Hopkins is a top hospital of the planet, as is the National Institute of Health. So their diagnosis was correct as far as what they were seeing, but what I felt was like, so they were basing what they were seeing and they were giving me a 3-month span of life based on statistics. And they said something in the order of like 99% chances are. And I'm like, well, if 99% of them are going to be dying, the chances are that I will die. What about that 1%? I will choose it. I will choose it, and I will start with that, and then again for those who may have not watched the first and second episode, just to say this: I left and I went down to Peru. I've traveled through Mexico, traveled to Peru, and Peru is where I really found my teachers, and I worked with several shamans. I want to say this to the audience: I'm a person of the modern world. I was born in America. I've lived a lot of my life in Greece and in the United States. Now, 2 years ago, I've just returned back to Greece again after a 20 plus years of traveling, mainly traveling to Peru to work to heal with the shamans, and mainly working out of Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, basically echoing everything that I was learning from my teachers. Because in the 3rd year of my apprenticeship, my teacher, Don Francisco, said, well, now if you want to stay cancer-free, since we've seen now that all the work we've done in CAT scans and MRIs in the NIH show that everything is left from my lungs, from my other kidney, from my liver, I'm clear, I got a clear bill of health. He said, now if you want to continue to stay cancer-free, you have to start teaching. And I'm like, how am I going to teach this? It's like, I'm a white person from the West. It's like, he said, you will teach it in English. Don Francisco has a lot of humor, And always, he's just guided me to see some things in a very, very different way. And here's what I really want to share and why I say everyone is a good candidate for our school. Because all of us in the Western world, the way we function as human beings, as most mammals, we learn from imitation. We copy and paste. We see a movement and our mirror neurons allow us to repeat the movement. When someone teaches us a guitar, someone teaches us a language, we're using the system of copying and pasting. And it works, or that's how we're set up to work. And especially when we look around us and we see 100 people doing one thing, then we learn it and we take it and we call it normal. And there's this part of us that, as a mammal or as a human being, if we go all the way back more than 10 and 20,000 years ago, when people started gathering in a circle around the fire at night, those who would get around the fire would be the survivors. If one or two people alone would be somewhere outside and away from the group, they could be picked up or killed by a bigger predator and disappeared. So in the depths of our nervous system and our subconscious, we want to make sure we belong, because if we don't belong in a group, we will perish. As a mammal that we are, we have that really clearly in our hard drive, in our nervous system. It's there, it's a predisposition. And I'm saying all of this to lead to what we've considered normal, or we consider a gamma of choices we have in life, are very limited to the limitation that's given and we see in the community and the people and the culture around us. I went through a very difficult divorce. I suffered through that. And I think that's something that many people have experienced and could identify with that. It actually felt like a big part of it was a big part of my anxiety and what probably led me to cancer. That stress inside me, that pain, confusion, anger, resentment, different emotions. And I couldn't and didn't have tools to work with that. When I started working with the shamans, one of the first things that Francisco taught me was the tool of cord cutting. He said, you're energetically still connected with your ex-wife and maybe other partners from previous relationships that are pulling your energy field, that are tugging your energy field and are making you feel that anger or anxiety or resentment, sadness, whatever it is you're left with. And he explained to me that if we're going to use an amount of energy to boost my immune system and to fight cancer cells and to enliven the ones that are healthy and get them thriving, we needed to start economizing. We needed to start collecting as much energy as we can from wherever we can. So he said the first place we want to go to is a previous relationship or previous relationships that really are still pulling in your energy. So if there was like a 10%, there was probably a 20% for me case, and maybe other people feel that too, of energy still there in that or that breakup or that divorce, all that force and sense and emotion, the hormones we're secreting in our body create stress and are actually taking away energy directly from the immune system and from cognitive ability, from focus. They're just taking up our battery. Imagine that, and it's true, we're a battery pack. We're like hybrids. We're electric and chemical. There's electricity in our body, 0.1 to 0.25 volts. And there's also these chemicals that we call hormones in our body, and different acids, etc. Basically, a lot of is what we have, water and salt. So we're in essence a salt battery. Now, if I'm using, say, out of my 100%, I'm using 10% to get over the emotions that I have about this breakup or about this divorce, that's gone. I need another 20 or 30%, I wouldn't say 30%, to run my internal organs, just to keep idling, just to be alive, to keep my heartbeat going, make my liver move, get my kidneys filtering out all the waters, there's 40%. And then there's other issues like traumas that I might have in childhood, things and emotions that I got caught up in when I was a teenager, just about to come out to life, to really engage with life. And as I thought I was getting there, all of a sudden things pushed me back. I got closed down in my shell. I got afraid, or I got confused. And here's another 20% of electricity that now is still an expenditure and is still directed towards holding those issues, may they be in the body or the mind, to really work with them. So here's just 60%. Now, if I come out to the world and I say, well, I want to open a business, I want to start a relationship, I want to learn how to play the guitar, I'm stepping into any of all this with 40% of the electricity and the capacity that I have. That by itself means that I'm overshadowed, first of all, with an emotion that I'm not enough, that I don't have enough. It's a reality in the battery of the body that, of course, echoes as a thought, or at least as a thought way back in the subconscious. I'm not enough. And if you've ever felt that, anyone in our audience felt that you ever feel that you're not enough, that you're not tall enough, that you're not enough money, there's always a not enough sensation. And that sensation is valid, not in the sense that you're not tall enough, that you're not beautiful enough, that you're not rich enough. We're more than enough. You are more than enough right now as you are. Every single person is more than enough. Only, are you bringing your full self forward? And the honest truth is that just by the math, the logistics of it, doesn't ever allow us to step forward with 100% or even with 90%. If I step forward with a 40%, I'm lucky enough. And this, I'll just make it as an I statement. This is what I felt my entire life before I ventured into meeting shamans, healing myself from cancer, creating the Jaguar Path School of Shamanism. I used to be a fashion and advertisement photographer, very different reality. And I was a successful, very successful fashion photographer and advertisement photographer with, again, my claim to fame, Vogue covers, etc. But still, I was living life with my 40%, surrounded with people that were also 40%ers. And we were doing what we're doing, and it was fine until I couldn't do it, until something gave in. My immune system, my nervous system, my hormonal system, my endocrine system collapsed. Cancer started growing. So if I were to answer directly the question of who is the best person to come into our school, I'm going to say everyone that lives in the West, because what I teach are these specific tools that are heart psychotherapeutic tools. The very big difference here, though, is that we approach this, if I'm allowed to call it psychotherapeutic in nature, so I am correctly speaking, if I'm allowed to, if I start to look into these, what we see and what we really focus on with our school is like, what is the mechanism behind every tool? And how does that solving a problem, getting over something that has been holding me back, how that directly comes back to me as electricity that now is available to me to be more focused in my day, to be more focused and more present in what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Whatever that right now is. I may be playing with my child. I may be learning the guitar. I may be working with a client. I am talking with you right now and with your audience. I am now, I'll just say 90% present, so I don't overdo it. There's probably a 10% that's definitely held back from thoughts. I have my mother who's elderly in the hospital. She's probably taking, I want that energy towards her, to hold her, to love her. I have my son in college. I'm applying some energy there, but I am not applying energy to past things anymore. I am not leaking energy to past relationships. I'm not leaking energy in things that had hurt me and had created an impression, an imprint of how I viewed the world. and had dictated thus a specific behavior. So we go along in life with very little energy, very little reserve of energy that we can actually have, that we actually could have available to us. Plus, we're moving along with a predisposition of an imprint, of an impression of how we should act, so none of these previous traumas occur again. I'm definitely not saying, well, go ahead and act as if nothing ever happened and do the same mistakes over again and get hurt again. I'm actually saying the opposite. In the school, in our 9-month training, we do is what we meet 1 weekend a month. And these 9 weekends, every weekend we dive deep into 2 shamanic tools. And we begin the first 3 months, our first trimester, in looking into what can be trapped, trauma and impressions and patterns that are stuck into the body. And we learn 6 different tools to clear those out. So then our body, the physiology, the biology of ours, starts to find its balance, starts to find where it's supposed to be. So I'll just say, namely, that one of the things that we teach is cord cutting, because again, when I cut those energetic cords that hold me with another person, I'm not pushed or pulled by them. There's no secretions of hormones in my body in relationship to them. Another major tool that we learn is what we call chakra illumination. We illuminate, we clear out of a chakra. And here again, I'm going to simplify it because, and this is why I mentioned that I was a photographer. Not to show off in any way, because I don't think much of it now, but to say that I'm a very grounded person and we work on a really grounded level and pragmatic level. So when we move into the heart chakra, we're talking about the heart organ and the electromagnetic field it puts out. And we're living in a time that all these things we can now see, they're measurable, we see them. Harvard Medical talks about HRV, heart rate variability, and how it's affected by previous trauma and how it's affected by the presence of other people. When does our heart rate variability rise? Because we're like, oh, with friends, Addie is here, my beloved wife is here, my mom is well and she's here, and we're all gathered together. So the heart rises, the magnetic field expands. In the heart chakra and the chakra illumination, when we learn that, we reach in and see what chakra, what center of the body and what organs have been affected. And we learn how to remove that imprint from there, allowing the organ, the meridian, and thus the endocrine system to align and to upgrade automatically. The other tool that we teach I'll go into the second trimester to give you just a few examples through the 9 months, is we teach how to find our power animal. And again, I come from the Western world and I remain in the Western world. I had a really open choice, I still have it, to have chosen to live in Peru. I found my healing in Peru and I could have said, well, this is the place. But I'm not from that place. I'm not from India. I'm not from Peru. I'm from the States. I'm from Europe. This is where I was born in, and there's a reason. And I like living here. I like the modern world. So living in a modern way doesn't mean that I can't access some of these ancient technologies. And a lot of these ancient technologies have been cleared out, wiped out, burnt away, hidden, guiltified, just all these sorts of things from the dark ages to our everyday life and back to what I was saying, to the norm. Like I said to a friend the other day, he was going through a tough time. I said, let's light a fire and let's do a fire ceremony. And then he laughed sarcastically and he said, sure, and I'll do the Cherokee dance and I'll bring in the rain. I said, we could do a fire ceremony if you want to, and we don't have to, because no problem with me. You're going through what you're going through. I have this. So he said, you know what the hell, let's do it. So we did the fire ceremony. He wrote down on a piece of paper what he was dealing with, what he was suffering. He put it into the fire and watched it burn. I'm going to say this first. For the mind to watch something burn, the mind knows that that thing is gone forever. It's burnt. It's ashes and smoke. And that in the background, that back behind the curtain of the subconscious is huge because it clears it out from there. The funny thing is that I said, well, let's go and dance around the fire. We danced around the fire and it started raining. So I said to him, next time you want a Cherokee dance, let me know and we'll bring rain. He laughed and cried, and mostly laughed because we're connected. And again, what I want to say is that a lot of people are afraid to approach this work because they consider themselves realists and pragmatists, and they've this whole thing of anything healing or anything metaphysical has gotten, I don't know if it's called a bad rap or whatever it is, under the guise of it's new age, it's woo woo, and we have all these expressions we use around that. And I agree. There's a big amount of people that are really new agey and woo woo and hippie, and I have no judgment across the board with these people. And there's other people that have no connection to nature. They're not connected to their intuition. They're not connected to the magic of life. And they just live working, and some of them work and they barely can make a living, and some of them are millionaires or billionaires. I have no judgment towards those people that don't open that door. I have no judgment to either side. But what I'm suggesting and what the Jaguar path is all about is that, hey, life is a lot more than what you learned in your home, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your country and culture, and in your religion. There's a lot more religions, there's a lot more ways, there's a lot of information and knowledge that you can bring into your life to then again live in a higher place of discernment. Because when I say, hey, that's woo-woo and that's hippie and I don't do that, that's pure judgment. And closing down the ideas. It's like, let's open the door. So for those people who think that the material life is not something we should do because if you're very materialistic, you're not spiritual, I say that's wrong. That's an absolute. I've lived very poor in my life. I've come from a poor family. I come from a very, very poor family. I know how it is to be in poverty. And I know now that I wasn't more spiritual then just because I was poor. It has nothing to do with it. And I know a lot of rich people who say, well, you know what, I'm not going to go that way, and I don't do the Cherokee dance, brain dancer, and I don't do this woo-woo stuff. And I've seen people perish because their chemo really didn't work or didn't work for them, it worked against them.
Yeah,
I
it's all a
personally,
balance.
it's a balance. And that's why I always stress out, I did do a surgery in the National Institute of Health. I believe in Western medicine. It absolutely will save your life. And a lot of medicine, but a lot of the medicine being chemical also have after effects or side effects that are not good for the body. They'll poison the liver, they'll deplete the kidneys, etc. This is known, it's a known fact even for Western medicine doctors. So what I suggest is for all of us to put down these walls that we have. And the Jaguar path essentially teaches us how to become shamans in the modern world. Even the word shaman, I don't even want to use it anymore. It's been so used, abused, misused, ridiculed, been put up too high up at the stake. Oh, my shaman, and I believe, it's like, let's bring it all down to the ground and say, okay, how can I reach my 90%? How can I be at least 90% present for the things and the people that I love? Maybe for my son who is going to college, for my mother that's going through the hospital at 92 and I want her to have her another 10 years with us, for my wife that I dearly love and we go through life together. How can I bring this to my students? How can I show up with 90% of my teachers? So to be a shaman, let's make that a clear statement or what that means to me now. 20 plus years working with the shamans. We're family. I've raised my son with them. I've seen their sons and children, their daughters been raised with them. We're family. There's nothing they're hiding. A shaman is a person that lives in the now. A shaman is a person that says, I'm pausing for a day, for a week, or for a month, or for a year to go and heal what I need to heal. And sometimes it's hard to pause for a very long time. We need to pay our rent, we need to pay our bills. So what I suggest and what we've created is, let's say I'm going to pause one weekend a month for 9 months. So when you look at Chinese medicine, The body goes through these 9-month periods of shift and change. These resets happen on the endocrine system and on the nervous system and in the whole being, essentially, because the endocrine system, the nervous system, carrying the electricity, carrying the hormones, the chemicals, affect every single cell of the body and how it exists and how every single cell of the body perceives its reality. Am I safe? Am I healthy? Do I have enough electricity to be fully present, etc.? In these 9 months, they also, like the gestation period where a woman is pregnant for 9 months until she gives birth, it's a rebirth essentially. So we're taking this fact that really is part of how the body functions, and we're riding on it and say, okay, well, take 1 week in a month to heal yourself. To say, okay, well, I've been going on since I was in kindergarten and I was first thrown out in the world and I realized there's an outside world, and I've been going like one thing after the other, and it's been a snowball through elementary and high school, college, university, raising a family, whatever it is we're all doing. And it's like I've never paused to say, my dear self, I love you. My dear self, I love you. And I really want to stop blaming the people that hurt me. Stop blaming and putting that energy and running it through me again about these old stories. And that's one of the biggest things I feel that I share through the Jaguar path, or I should say, it's one of the biggest results that happened. I entered in starting talking to the shamans, like many people come into the school and they start saying, well, you know what? So and so, this happened with my ex, this happened with my boss, this happened when I was 9, this happened when I was 17, and I hate this person and I dislike this person. There's all these emotions. So what we really do is we are taking the lens and we're turning it inward. May everyone that I ever met be blessed. I apologize for anything that I've ever done that was harmful in any way, and I forgive everyone that has done anything that has been harmful to me in any way. I am left here with what I'm left with, and I will do my math, and I will go in and I will clean up house. So in these 9 months, we give that time. 1 week in a month, I'm going to pull away from everything I'm doing. It's from 9 to 3:30 on Saturday, 9 to 3:30 on Sundays. We begin every November. And we start looking and we take a list of things that we want, and through this last 17 years that we've been running the Jaguar path with Don Francisco and other shamans right behind me, helping me tweak it, and even more importantly, with thousands of students having passed by through this last 17 years, we've tweaked it and retweaked it, made amazing handouts where there was no handouts when I was up in the Andes or in the jungle. There was nothing absolutely that I could hold on to, but after every session, I would write and write and rewrite. And along with the help of friends and with people that have taken the Jaguar path, the questions really allowed us to form it and to have this training that is, like everyone says, life-changing. Absolute life-changing. You cannot not change if you do the 9-month training. You will change. And you will change to become more empowered. You will change to become happier. You will change to have moved your center from where it was, to bring it back into your heart, under your feet, and above your crown. You will change, no matter what, into being in a much better place. And I started saying, what is a shaman in the modern world? Being a person that holds his or her center and keeps on opening his love. Now, when someone cuts me off in the highway, I remember that me being upset or yelling or doing hand gestures or whatever is an expense of energy that I lose.
Yeah.
So I've learned when I see someone cutting me off in the highway, say, may you have the blessings, may you be well. And I lift up energy and love towards myself. And I continue to be even more aware of my driving because maybe someone else would do it. I'm just more aware of where I'm going and what I'm doing, not what the other people are doing.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
someone,
I mean, it's all an energy game. So, um, I love what you're doing. I think that there's a lot to be said for it. We are running short on time. So I want to make sure everyone knows I'm definitely leaving all of Ray's info in the description of this video. Um, the, I can just say that, you know, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be in the same place. These energies carry through, you know, the internet. I know they do. That's why I sought Ray out, because I could feel the energies that he and his wife are bringing to the table through the video that I watched of them. Um, and I am also a believer that, you know, connecting with the earth is a very helpful tool to, you know, bringing that energy back to yourself. I like how you're talking about a lot of the heart math stuff. And so, yeah, I just, you know, thank you so much for sharing what you do. Check it out. I
Thank
think
you.
there's a lot to these ancient methods. We've kind of gotten a little lost in the modern world. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much. Anything else? Got
Thank you, Addie. You could find anyone that wants information. You can go to the jaguarpath.com, jaguarpath.com. Or if you'd like to ask something, you can shoot me an email at evolve@jaguarpath.com. I'll be happy to talk to anyone that wants to learn to know more.
perfect. Perfect.
It's been
Thank
an
you
honor,
so
Addie.
much.
Thank
It's
you so
been
much.
great talking to you. Check them out, guys. I think that there's a lot more here than we could possibly wrap up in 3 videos. So thank you again, Ray. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful day.
Addie. Have a
Take care.
wonderful day.
You
Thank
too.
you so much.